this is going to be an exciting video. Vanguard is turning 10 years old in a few more days. I think that's how that works. Looking at the release dates, it's kind of off, but anyway, Vanguard's turning 10, and I can't believe how much time flies. From my little story on Vanguard, and that's what this video is going to be about today. So, if you want to hear how Vanguard impacted my life, please hang out. If not, that's what this video is about. So anyway, what got me started into Vanguard, I've been playing the game since it actually came out, since in the Japanese BTO1. So that's how long ago I played it. I've been playing a bunch of card games in the past, and I've always followed Bushiroad because I played a lot of Weiss. That was my I don't know, main game, but it was definitely like a guilty pleasure. Weiss was such an expensive game back in the day. Still is expensive, but it was an import. Obviously, they didn't have the English Weiss stuff, so I was playing other games like Battle Spirits and Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh. So I played all of those games, and at the time, before Vanguard was announced, I kind of knew about it, but through Weiss, but didn't really follow too much. And then one day, back when I was in college, I was broke. I was doing this teeth cleaning event thing at the community college because they would have paid you like $50 or something if the students can clean your teeth. So I wanted to get that $50. So my brother and I and some of our friends went down to the community college, waited in line, and it was about a good hour and a half wait because there was a bunch of people there too. Wanted to try to get their free $50, and I remembered that I pulled up Crunchyroll and they had the Vanguard anime, so they had about 3 episodes in at the time. So of course, clearly means I didn't watch it during these simulcasts. I mean, I missed a few weeks, but it was in my queue. I usually don't watch an anime until there's at least 2 episodes out. Then I'll start getting on that simulcast train, because I hate it when I watch like 1 episode and it cuts off and you gotta wait till next week. And that's just the nature of watching simulcast series. But I usually try to give a show a couple episodes in before I start just going hard on watching it. But so there was 3 episodes in, and spent my 3 episodes watching it while I was waiting in line, and I was pretty much hooked at that point. I didn't really play any card games at that period. Like I said, I collected and played a little bit of Weiss, but I just got off like the Naruto and the Battle Spirits. I was just done with it. And same with Yu-Gi-Oh. I just wasn't playing Yu-Gi-Oh anymore either. So that was like the one point in my life where I barely played any card games. But after I watched the episode, I messaged my friend and I told him, hey, you gotta watch Vanguard. It was really good. And he already told me that he's already pre-ordered a couple of boxes and he got the starter decks on the way. So I was like, yes, we finally got another card game to play. It's been so long. And then ever since then, the majority of my old videos, if you go back, were Vanguard videos. You can actually see one of my first recorded match. I mean, I wasn't playing; I was just recording it. But it was good. It was good times. I still remembered. My friend bought like 4 of the Japanese manga, because we played the Japanese format for a while. He bought the 4 manga volumes where it came with Waterfall, and that was such an insane card. When Vanguard was still new. I mean, you also had Goku, which was pretty good too. So I remember that. My first deck that I really played was Kagero and a little bit of Royals. Didn't really touch Royals too much. I knew that it was pretty strong with the whole Soul Saver stuff, but I wasn't like super into the Royal Paladin clan. I didn't really care much for it. The Dragons was definitely where it was at for me. So I played, a good amount of it with Kagero, and then the English Vanguard was just so weird because, I mean, technically the language. If you saw their slide from the producer's letter, they said that English Vanguard and Japanese Vanguard started the same year, and I guess technically they were correct, but it was like Japanese Vanguard was like in the middle of 2011 or early 2011, and then English Vanguard was like near the end of 2011. So I don't know. It felt like they were definitely not in the same release date time. So with our releases, Japanese came out first, and then English, and so I was slowly like moving into the English version of the game. And oh boy, English Vanguard, I remembered prices were insane. You guys thought maybe like $10 double Rs or $8 double Rs were expensive. Well, back in the day, the perfect guards for a lot of the clans, minus like Grand Blue and Tachikaze, they were all like $20. It was insane. And the release order for Vanguard was super screwy. So obviously you don't know this, but back in the day, VN was pretty busted. You had VN, Tsukiyomi, and Majesty Lord Blaster. Those were like the top 3 best decks at the time. And before they hit the English version, they actually moved it around where we got the Gold Paladin stuff instead. So that was quite the change. So I remembered that it was just a weird release. At the time also, when I first started playing Vanguard in the early days, I wasn't like super competitive. I'm not like super competitive now. Oh, I take that back. I do enter a lot of tournaments now than I did in the past. But before, I mostly just played with my friends, did the whole local stuff. And I remembered I did go out to the first like Bushiroad Day kind of deal. That was kind of fun. It's not like they gave out anything cool. They gave out like a certificate, but I remember doing that. But yeah, and I also, like I said, I also hosted my local events. I really helped try to push Vanguard in my area. I still even remembered that my friend and I created a forum we used, and that's how we met a couple of more friends. And it was pretty cool. That's the one thing I do like about card games. It gets you to meet other people that you normally wouldn't meet. So, card games aside, it's a fun hobby where you can meet new people. So I didn't really take Vanguard like super seriously though. Like I said, I did run tournaments. I also remembered there's a thing called the Challenge Cup. That was pretty cool. So the way that worked, it was very similar how Japan did their tournaments. Was you have to win like a local shop tournament before you can play at regionals. So they kind of try to do that in English. Honestly, that system is kind of dumb now that I think about it. But at the time, it was pretty cool. It was just like in the anime. And the Challenge Cup that I hosted was very memorable because it was actually the last tournament I hosted for a long time before now. Because at that point in my life, I actually moved to Japan. So that was a big turning point. And of course, when I went to Japan, what did I do over there on my free time? I played some Vanguard. I played a lot of Vanguard when I was in Japan because it turns out that there was like a card shop, like 3 or 4 in my area. It's pretty insane. And they would do tournaments like every other day. So there was always a day and time for a tournament, and I played a ton of Vanguard. I remember when I was living in Japan, the deck that I primarily used was Narukami which was Descendant, and that was an insane card. I also played a little bit of English Vanguard while I was in Japan. I did a tournament. I entered the Big Fest event. That was really fun. That was like my first time I saw so many Vanguard players in one spot. Because like I said, I never really played in like big English tournaments. I did a couple of English regionals before I went to Japan, but you know, I scrubbed out. Not a very good player at the time. Still not today, but I had a good time, and you know, it was the first time when I was in Japan. I was at a Vanguard event, and there was just so many people. I mean, in English regionals, there was quite a few people, but not like how it was in Japan. So that really made it really cool. And I also remembered with all the knowledge I attained while I was living there, I went back home during Golden Week and pretty much built a deck because I knew what to build already in English, because the English release was a lot slower. Came back to the U.S. For a week, and I entered not my local area, but I entered a tournament out in Just Flip. So if you know what that is, it's a card shop in San Jose. Pretty cool card shop. And I remembered I won that pretty easily, because I figured that the Descendant deck was the best deck to play. So that was really cool, and I knew how to use it. I didn't even have to play test nothing. I already knew how to use it right off the bat. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, so after my trip from Japan was over, I did move back to the U.S. And I think by the time I came back, that was when Legion was pretty much almost done, kind of. You had the Legion, the Great was out and stuff like that. The Gold Paladin Liberators was pretty insane. And I think at that point, I really got into competitive Vanguard. I decided to take it more serious, because a lot of my friends back in the US, when I came back, they were like, this is what we're doing right now. We're just playing competitive Vanguard. We're going to a bunch of regionals. We play test a lot, and I was like, I'm down for that. That was pretty exciting. I really enjoyed that, and pretty much, you know, I ever since then I've been going to every single regionals. I still remember a lot of the clans that I played. You know, I'm surprised that I actually haven't played like every single clan. A few of my friends have, but I actually don't. So a lot of times the deck I will play test at my locals would usually be pretty good competitive decks, but for some reason my brains get turned off, and when I go to regionals I'll just play like a garbage deck. So I still remember when Zodiac Time Beast trial deck came out. I went to the Texas regionals. I think it was Texas. Yeah, it was Texas. And my friend straight up said he's just gonna buy the ZTV trial decks, and then he wasn't even playing Chrono Jet, which was kind of funny. He was playing the Chrono Fang deck, and for me, I was going to do the Chrono Jet build, but then I was like, well, I did enter one tournament with Neo Nectar, and it was super good. I mean, I was hitting crazy high numbers. But the thing that I forgot when you're at regionals, and at the early Vanguard English regionals, there was a thing called double time game loss, or something like that, where if time was called, you don't do like turns 0, 1, 2, 3, or check who has most damage. It's just that if time's up, you both lose. And turns out Neo Nectar at the time was definitely a super slow, grindy deck. So I got into time twice, and it was definitely a feels bad moment. I learned that when you go to regionals, you don't play like the slowest decks possible. You try to play a very fast deck, and it's a lesson learned from that. And then ever since then, if you like watch my deck profiles, I mean, I do have kind of grindy decks and slow decks, but I try to build competitive decks where it is simple enough to use to go through the 8 rounds and then go to top cuts and then hopefully win it. So it's not like you don't have, there's some big brain plays, I guess, that are in the deck list, but not a lot of times. Most of the time, I try to go for the less is more kind of strategy, because if you try to go too big brain, you're gonna burn yourself out and you might get called by time. It's just experience that I picked up. But pretty much, I entered almost every single regional. Honestly, I think hasn't been a regional that I haven't entered. The only one that I haven't entered are the ones that were obviously when I was living in Japan. I never entered the regionals in English for that. But ever since I came back, I entered every single regionals. If you've seen my binder video collection thing, where I was just kind of flexing but not really, you can see every single promo card that I've obtained, which was something that I really enjoyed going to regionals. Of course, seeing some of my friends there that I haven't seen in a while, or going on adventures with my friends, that's always fun. But getting those promo cards, they're not like really good either. Promo cards are usually pretty bad, but I like them because it reminds me of the fun times that I had with the game. And each time I go to regionals, it's always an exciting moment. And I remembered it's definitely got more memorable in the last few years for Vanguard for me, because Vanguard did split into two formats, premium and standard. I'm a big premium believer still. I do play standard, so it's not like I will not play one format over the other, but all my effort has always been into premium because I played the game since it came out, and I always enjoy using some old cards if I have the chance to, if there's an option where an old card is playable. That's really cool. I also just like to use the strides. Strides to me was what made Vanguard really fun. A lot of times, if you guys remembered, if you guys played back in the limit break and stuff, a lot of times the cards was just very simple. Turn the card sideways, go for big numbers, and that was still fun. Don't get me wrong, but I did kind of miss the complex stuff of other card games. And then when they introduced strides, it was just like, wow, this is just a great game now. So that's why I still enjoy the premium format. Strides to me was really important. And then in the last few years, I've been playing a lot better, for sure. I wouldn't say I'm like a good player, but I remembered that a lot of the regionals I entered, at that point, I kept bubbling for top 8. I kept getting 9th, which kind of hurts, but it did show that I did make a lot of progress. I did change up the decks that I play. I usually homebrew my own stuff, but then I do look at other deck lists to know like what's getting played out, things like that. I still play the dumb deck sometimes at regionals. I remembered one format I played at regionals was the Aquaforce deck. Then the only reason why I played Aquaforce for standard was because my friend topped with it at regionals. I think he got like 3rd or 4th place, and I was like, I guess Aquaforce is the deck I'll be using. And turns out he was just playing like a god, because when I entered regionals with the Aquaforce deck, I just got killed. I also remembered in one regional, it was a team league format, and Bermuda Triangle was technically out for standard, but only by trial deck. It was really fun because my friend built a max foil rare foil trial deck, because technically you can, the way that V-Series trial decks worked was you can get a random foil of a trial deck card. So he was able to max it out. He got the full foil trial deck. And we actually top 8 at that tournament. It was insane. I remember we were really hyped. Unfortunately, my friend got a game loss in the top 8 cut, and don't forget, guys, I was only using a Bermuda trial deck. It wasn't like I was playing like the best deck at all, but it was really fun. And then we also, was it the same tournament? Yeah, I think it was that same season. We 2019 we got 2nd place at the Texas Team League, and and that was really fun. That was definitely a highlight of my Vanguard playtime because we went pretty far, and a lot of my two teammates did kind of lose a little bit of hope because I believe we went like X2 in the Swiss rounds. It wasn't like we figured like our tiebreakers wasn't that great, but I remember when we saw the top 8 cuts, we were in 8th place. I was like, I went up to my friends and said, dude, we topped 8, and they didn't believe me at all. I'm like, well, fine, don't believe me. We're gonna go ahead and check the standings. And then when they looked, they're like, holy smokes, we topped 8. It was really cool. I remember that was also like when I really started to enjoy the Bermuda Triangle clan. For the longest time, I never really played Bermuda at regionals other than that trial deck. The trial deck Bermuda. Other than that, I never really played Bermuda that often. So even though a lot of my content nowadays is Bermudas, I simp for Bermudas a lot nowadays. I wasn't always a Bermuda player, but ever since that tournament in 2019, that was definitely the deck that jived with me. And ever since then, I've just been playing with it and kept up with Bermuda. But I remember I was playing that, my friend was playing Gizeh because it was an easy deck to use, and like I said, the way that regionals work, you don't want to go super big brain anyway. You could, don't believe me, you could, and you'll get rewarded if you can endure all of those rounds. And then my other friend played Spike's GB8, and that was kind of cool. We carried him, so if he's listening, sorry man, that was the truth. We kind of carried you there. And we met some pretty cool players over there, and I remembered I was testing with a DI deck, and I think it was Noman or Andrew came up, and then he was like coaching me on how to use the deck, because I had no idea what I was doing when I was playing the DI deck. So that was really cool. 2020 happened, and as you guys know, we're still going through it right now. There was no tournaments, and in 2021, no tournaments right now. Well, actually, there might be an online event that's coming up, so that could be really cool. I'm just really, happy that Vanguard is turning 10. It's been quite the wild ride playing Vanguard. It's a very important card game for me. I met a lot of good people throughout the years playing it, and it was also one of the only card games that I played internationally, so that was cool. I think that really stuck with me quite well. It's a game that I appreciate. As people say, it's kind of a sacky game, or a luck sack, or whatever you want to call it. There's definitely a lot of skills involved, but it's very easy to play. And I think that because of the triggers, it makes the game super dynamic, is what I enjoy. You could probably, watch other card games, like, commentate and whatever. But when you watch Vanguard matches, it's always fun. I think it's fun watching Vanguard games. You don't have to just be a player, you can watch as well. So that's what I enjoy Vanguard a lot about. There's so many ways to enjoy the game. The multimedia franchise is really cool. I mean, the Vanguard anime was fun, the manga's cool. They always have cool merch for Vanguard, so they'll always have like toys, or I still remember they had like Vanguard cookies one time, so that was a thing. But Vanguard to me is very important, and I can't believe I'll say this, but maybe in another 10 years I'll still be playing Vanguard. By then I will be like an old man for sure. I'm already 31, and it's hard to believe that I played Vanguard throughout my 20s. So it was definitely very important, very impactful for me. So hopefully Vanguard is here for another 10 years. It's gonna be great. We got Overdress coming out. I'm always excited for new stuff. No matter how much Vanguard evolves or change, it's always gonna be a great game. Now, of course, there could be times where the game's just terrible. There has been, but I'm not looking at that. I'm just enjoying Vanguard for what it is, and hopefully I can continue doing that. I don't know if I'll be making videos forever, but as long as I enjoy Vanguard, I'll definitely keep on playing. I can't really see myself not play it. So anyway, to another 10 years, and I will see you guys in the next one.